Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DECA Dialogues. We're sitting down with members from all around as they share their unique journeys. From first competitions to future careers, hear how DECA is building the leaders of tomorrow today. Get inspired, get connected. This is DECA Dialogues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our second guest here, Samer Youssouf. Samer, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Say, Samir, would you perhaps give us a little bit of insight as to your role in DECA, if you will?
Yes. As Miles said, my name is Samer Youssouf. I'm currently actually in my 10th year in DECA. I started back in 2016.
Wow.
I currently serve as the admin vice president for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas chapter. I did previously, in the previous year, actually serve as a Collegiate DECA vice president for the entire collegiate division, serving over 5,400 members.
Wow.
Um, and now I'm back here locally and trying to help out more in the here in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Wow. 10 years, you said. 10
Mhm.
years. Now, does that also span high school as well, then, too, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
2016, I joined my high school chapter as a freshman.
Yeah.
I was there all 4 years. And then right as I got into college, I went straight to our collegiate chapter. I heard about it actually during my sophomore year of high school. So I already knew it was
Hmm.
a thing. It was just a
Yeah.
matter of time before I decided to join the moment I got into college, even though we
Yeah.
were virtual actually my first year. But I
Okay.
was
Oh,
like, I
yeah,
know
I
I want to
suppose so.
join.
Yeah.
So I just went right in
Yeah.
and then stick with it ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. What inspired you to get in? Because I assume 10 years ago, I'm sure there were some similarities, but when you get to a decade of differences, was it different back then at all, or how has it changed from then to today?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. 10 years will definitely,
Yeah,
you see a lot of
yeah,
things, evolve. But
absolutely.
I think the biggest change is definitely transitioning from just the high school division to the collegiate division
Okay.
because the way the high school division really ran is while, as you're still as students running, the chapter,
Hmm.
hosting events,
Hmm.
competitions, and so on, there's a lot of stuff you work with the advisor, and
Yeah,
there's only so much you can do because you're still
absolutely.
underage and
Absolutely.
still learning.
Hmm.
Especially because DECA was my essentially my first organization I ever joined at all.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the moment I transitioned to collegiate, one of the things I realized was one, as college students, we're adults.
Hmm.
There's a lot more
Yes.
responsibility that we take on. And
Hmm.
two, even though the collegiate division is not as big as the high school division, it gives a very unique experience when you're meeting with other people. Because
Hmm.
some of the interactions I got when I was going to, some of the conferences was, I got a lot of really interesting insight from various individuals, whether it's
Hmm.
people of different majors, people who were similar to my age, some people were
Hmm.
older, some people were
Yeah.
younger. It really allowed me to learn more from people's real world experience.
Hmm.
And I think not only that made it a lot more fun, but also just a more worthwhile experience. And just
Hmm.
another reason for me to continue DECA,
Absolutely.
despite that, because it made me realize that no matter how many years you're a part of it, you're always learning something. I always feel
Exactly.
like I'm learning something new every single year.
Wow.
Like you think you've learned everything, you think I've done all the stuff.
Yep.
There's just one more that always comes around.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I agree. I like your point on that. I definitely agree with that. Having that experience from high school and then that switch to Collegiate DECA too. Like you said, I mean, they got the similarities, but they're also different. And I think you put it in a very, very accurate way that I relate to myself personally as well. Now, say, Samir, you'd mentioned that last year, in case you didn't know, last year was my first year doing Collegiate DECA. And actually, last year was special to me because I did both collegiate and high school at the same time. Because I was
Oh wow.
doing a PSEO, post-secondary enrollment option, so I was at the high school and the college, and I was able to do both. And I remember going to the Engage conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that was my first time meeting the officer team, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool because I never got the chance to have that one-on-one with the high school officer team just because it's simply like there's so many more members in high school wise. But having that one-on-one was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And I've always been kind of intrigued, at least personally. How would you describe that experience? I mean, I'm sure you could go on and on and on about your international officer experience, but how would you describe that?
It's definitely something that is unlike any chapter officer position or even
Hmm.
state officer position because you're put into a viewpoint on such a high level
Yeah.
than you are probably even used to. One, the officers you work with are not from the same location. So you're
Hmm.
working with people from various different areas, with the exception of James, because
Yeah.
he was also from Las Vegas and we just both happened to be on the team again.
That's
So
awesome.
maybe that's a little bit of an exception, but you get the high level and
Hmm.
you're working a lot more instead of just focusing on your own like local chapter. Now you have to really consider and think about the different situations from a bunch of other states.
Yeah.
See where people need help,
Hmm.
learning from, what their plans are, try to get them involved, let them know about some of the upcoming events, upcoming calls, and also just looking through resources and trying to find better ways to give Collegiate DECA members, a better experience this year,
Yeah.
or at least an experience
Yeah.
that they will remember forever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that that kind of sounds like a lot. And I mean, how did you deal with that? Like that switch, I can only imagine is like so eye-opening that it's like you said, it's like, oh, I'm not just a part of something regionally, a part of something at a state level. Like this is like thousands. How did you deal with that? How were you like, okay, this is what we can do. Let me put my head down and let's get it done.
I think there's two things that definitely helped me transition a lot,
Hmm.
and this is something that definitely to consider.
Yeah.
One, I was one of the things that I enjoyed being part of a Collegiate DECA was I was very social.
Hmm.
So I was
Hmm.
well connected with a lot of different people from various
Hmm.
chapters. I always enjoyed seeing them.
Yeah.
And two, the people who were part of my officer team that were elected alongside me were people who I was already friends with.
Hmm.
So from there, transitioning and getting to know the new team, trying to see each other's strengths and weaknesses, how we can
Hmm.
work effectively. That
Hmm.
was something that came pretty fast because
Yeah.
we already knew each other. So we just got straight to work. And then the people who I was already connected with, um, we just essentially communicated a lot more when it came to just from that higher level perspective.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I still met a lot of new people like yourself and many
Thank you.
others.
Yeah.
Um, throughout, like as we are working with specific
Hmm.
assigned, states and associations.
Hmm.
So those aspects and is one of the main reasons why transitioning wasn't as stressful as maybe many people may seem,
Okay.
but it
Yeah.
also helped becoming like an experience for myself to
Yeah.
remember. Now, was it hard? Of course, there's still a lot of difficult moments and a lot of work we had to do,
Hmm.
but we were able to learn how to do all that work effectively together,
Yeah.
as well enjoy the journey.
Hmm. That's awesome. That's wonderful insight. Thanks. I'd always kind of been little bit intrigued by that. Now kind of still touching on it a little bit. You did the content for the international Collegiate DECA, correct? If I'm wrong.
Yeah, so when it came to social media and a lot of the like online content stuff, I mainly took charge of that
Yeah.
when working with my team.
Oh yeah.
That
Oh,
also
fun.
included the social accounts, especially. I was very big on that, very
Hmm.
active. I enjoyed it a lot too.
Yeah. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. Yeah, no, that's kind of cool. That's really cool. So now you kind of that was last year. You had switched back into what are you doing now? What's this year of DECA look like for you?
So, of course, before I became, an international officer,
Hmm.
I used to be the vice president of technology for 2 years for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas's
Oh,
chapter.
awesome. Awesome.
Now, coming back into the local chapter, I've now been elected as the administrative vice president, which is kind of essentially the vice president under the president. Thank you for that.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
and the reason I decided to kind of go for this position is one, um, since I'm getting very late into, my experience and it's
Hmm.
coming to a time where eventually I'm gonna have to maybe say goodbye to
Yeah.
being a member.
Mm.
One of the things I wanted to make sure of is be in a position where I can kind of help the next generation of officers that will
Hmm.
most likely take over UNLV's chapter
Yeah.
for the next few years.
Yeah.
So this admin position is more or less kind of me taking a step back and helping more on the back end stuff as the rest of the officer team, takes on with their own ideas and how they want to
Hmm.
see this chapter thrive. But of course, I want to make sure I give that support as much as I can,
Hmm.
while still continuing to do my master's at UNLV. So that
Hmm.
way, the moment I finish and I do officially leave, then I can kind of look back and see how much has been done and confidently say, I think the chapter will be in good hands.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, obviously, like you had mentioned, there will come a time where it's time to hang it up and time to say goodbye. Once that happens, what are your dreams? What's planned next for you? If you have anything planned, it's totally okay if you don't, but what do you hope to do?
Honestly, and this is something even by the time hopefully I graduate soon and for context, the master's program I'm doing right now is in cybersecurity. That's something I've
Okay.
always wanted to do for a long
Yeah.
time. I'm not someone who's, being in finance or
Hmm.
marketing and stuff,
Hmm.
as maybe many of our DECA members are.
Hmm.
But I definitely want to go into, digital forensics and get a career in there, hopefully
Okay.
either during my last semester or by the time I do graduate.
Yeah.
And, as I'm going to be working and stuff, one of the things I still want to do, of course, is while I won't be a member anymore, I still obviously want to, every now and then kind of see how things are going, see
Yeah.
how I can maybe support. I know in the past there's been many alumni that we've seen who've either come back to help maybe donate, become professional members, maybe alumni members,
Yeah.
or even, help judge for state
Hmm.
conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and of course, even the connections I've made, I'm not going to just let those go.
Hmm.
There's many people like yourself and many others who I still want to keep in touch with. I
Absolutely.
definitely want to do some more traveling. There's still some places I
Oh
still haven't
yeah.
been, and
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
and maybe there's some. It's given me a good excuse to maybe visit some people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree with that. I'd say one of the really great things that I personally love about DECA is just having that opportunity to connect with individuals that I may have not had a chance to connect with, like yourself, right? I mean, I'm all the way over here in Minnesota, and you're down here in Nevada, right? Like we have the opportunity to connect, and I think that's a really cool and wonderful thing, and that DECA gives, and I'm very very grateful for that as well. And I know that you're going to do absolutely great in cybersecurity and the forensics. That's awesome. That's really cool, actually. So
Thank you.
what does that look like? I'm going to kind of play it back a little bit here, just say that I have no idea what that looks like. How would you describe it briefly? Kind of that what you'd like to go into.
So, one of the things I feel like some people maybe get confused when it comes to cybersecurity is that it's a very vague area.
Okay.
So, just like how engineering has mechanical,
Hmm.
electrical, and computer and all that, cybersecurity has its own field as well.
Hmm.
There's the defensive side where you're more trying to protect data, help when it comes to breaches.
Okay.
Then there's also the offense side where you're trying to help kind of test different systems to make sure that they're protecting things that as it should be. If there's any flaws, you point them out. It falls a lot into the skills of like the tech side of the skills, as
Hmm.
well as the business and logical side, and maybe a little bit in legal if you want to do cyber law, but
Yeah.
that's a
Okay.
little bit of a more of a niche
Cool.
thing.
Yeah.
The way forensics gets into is it's more on the defensive side. So on
Hmm.
we like to call blue team and offense red team.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
fun.
but
That's
also
awesome.
it's like analysis of, different assets and data,
Hmm.
especially if there's an incident and you're trying to analyze logs to see what's going on in the network, what's going on certain systems, and
Hmm.
whether or not there's been something tampering,
Hmm.
there's anything that seems off, check the integrity, make sure things haven't been changed. This is a big thing, especially in stuff like incident response, especially if
Hmm.
you see nowadays some of the breaches or incidents that have happened in various areas in the US or in the world. Cybersecurity is a very demanding area that is needed. It's why there's so many people who are looking for people and looking for real professionals.
Hmm.
And hopefully I can, take part in that myself and help
Yeah.
out in there, especially because I've always been in technology in general.
Hmm.
So I knew that from a very young age. I just didn't know where until I got a little bit older and I
Yeah.
started to be like, cybersecurity started, grabbing my attention a little bit more.
Hmm. Well, that's
So
super
that's
awesome.
kind of where I want to go into and why I've chosen that path.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Now, I have just another question for you, if I may. How has DECA helped shape you and put you on that path that you're on today? Or how is it giving you the tools that you have that you confidently know, like, okay, this is something that I want to pursue, and I know, like, I got it, right? Like I got this. I'm going in there guns blazing, and I'm gonna absolutely crush it. How would you say DECA has given that?
So, and that's funny that you asked that because people will say that same thing, like, how is DECA supposed to help if you're going to go into engineering or something, right? But
Yeah.
what people forget about is, especially, and this is more demanding even in cybersecurity, that just because you have that technical knowledge, that alone isn't enough to even get you a
Mm-hmm.
job.
Mm-hmm.
What you need is you also need those people skills. You need to
Yes.
know how to talk to people. You need to know
Mm-hmm.
how to lead a team. You need to
Mm-hmm.
know how to convey what you know. So the technical terms, how are you going to translate that into something that someone who has zero knowledge on cybersecurity can
Mm-hmm.
even understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the business mindset comes into play. And
Mm-hmm.
having both of those is necessary to even get into these cybersecurity jobs. Because otherwise, if there's an incident that happens, how are you going to explain people about what is really going on in a
Yeah.
way that not only is not panicking too much of a panic, but also in a way that allows them to understand, like, this is what's happening. This
Mm-hmm.
is why you should be worried, or this is why you should be more aware. So how DECA comes into play is that before I even joined way back, I wasn't too much as much of a talkative person or as someone who was confident in public speaking.
Yeah.
It was something that I had to learn as the years went on, and every year went on, I became a bit more confident, whether it was, trying to do speeches, leading a
Mm-hmm.
workshop or a
Yeah.
panel, and so much more. And especially by the time I became an international officer, at that point, doing speeches in front for like Engage and for the
Yeah.
international conference in front of all of you guys, that's not easy to do.
Oh
And
no.
we had a lot
Oh,
of
I bet
practice
not.
with
Yeah.
that. We worked with the stage directors as well, and they gave
Mm-hmm.
us a lot of good tips, a lot of practice. We learned a lot, and that helps when it comes to speaking out or taking up, very high leadership positions in other areas, because now you have that confidence.
Yes.
As long as you have your information more organized and in a area where like confidently what you're saying is what you believe in, you can say that without having to hesitate. And if someone
Mm-hmm.
wants to challenge that, that's not going to let you or bring you down. So those
Mm-hmm.
people skills, not public speaking skills, is what helps me so much. And I think it helps even any engineer,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone in any position. Because at the end of the day, no matter what career you do, you need to know how to talk to people. And if you can't do that, it
Yeah.
hurts a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with you. I see it all the time. You just gotta, and you can start out like even some of the best speakers in the world had to start somewhere, right? Like you look at these business tycoons, right? They weren't born billionaires, right? They had to
Mhm.
build something. You had to develop those skills, and I think DECA gives that opportunity for not only just people going into business, but people going to any type of business, any type of career path that they want. Like I'll agree with you too. I start when I started out, I wasn't the best at public speaking either. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, but I kind of sucked at talking to people. But over the time of DECA, like you said, you kind of learn those skills, and you kind of go, okay, I can kind of use this to help, and I can get that confidence to pursue that and learn and grow. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Now, Samir, as we kind of wrap up here, do you have any other questions or any other things that you'd like to add? The stage is yours to say anything.
I do want to say one thing, and this is
Yeah.
mainly for those who maybe just got into DECA,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're still thinking about joining and they're seeing this, or people who are still trying to find kind
Mm-hmm.
of their path. And I like to say this a lot to many people, and I'll say it here, is that any opportunity that you see, no matter how daunting it may be, go for it, tackle it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't do as well as you hope,
Mm-hmm.
think about what went wrong, why you didn't succeed as much as you wanted to, and how you can learn from that. Because those
Mm-hmm.
learning experiences, instead of chickening out
Yeah.
and just giving up, if you take that and try to keep trying again and again and again, eventually it's going to lead to something that maybe not only will lead you to a successful area, but maybe in one that you didn't think about or you didn't think was even possible beforehand. Because for
Mm-hmm.
me, the thought of even being an international officer years back
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then even when it comes to competition, while I studied a lot, I paid attention. Even high school, I didn't do as well as others. If anything, I didn't even become a state finalist until my senior year. And even in the collegiate level, I was one of the few people in my chapter who didn't place as a finalist in ICDC. Everyone else did. And instead of kind of whining about it, I try to be supportive, try to learn
Mm-hmm.
from what they did. How did they make
Absolutely.
it there? And
Yes.
of course, eventually in 2024, was able to make top 10, fortunately, but it
Nice.
shows that sometimes it takes time before you see those results. So
Yes.
it's just a matter of keep trying, learn from others, no matter how many years you're doing things, because even if whether you're older or younger than someone, you never know. They may have some advice that even you didn't think about because their
Hmm.
perspective is different from yours. So
Hmm.
always take those opportunities. Always try to learn from your mistakes. And most importantly, you know, don't give up and realize that there may be something bigger for you, even more than you may even realize.
Hmm. Wow, that's just I have no words. I mean, if there was a target, that'd be a bullseye right there. That is awesome, Samir. Thank you so much for that insight and those words. That's very inspiring and very helpful for people who may be interested about DECA in DECA or possibly even just people in everyday life. You know, those are very great remarks. Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you to everybody who tuned in to the DECA Dialogues. Very honored to have Samir on. Thank you again so much.
Thank
And
you.
everybody have a great day. Get out there, seize the opportunity. Like Sabir said, seize that opportunity. Okay, get after it. Just do it. You got it. All right. Please be sure to like and share this video so that we can get this message out to everybody, and we can all learn from one another. We can all get inspired, and we can all get connected. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of DECA Dialogues. Have a great day.